I'm saying if there's 1,500 RWT accounts and they're spending $10 a month, what is that, 15 grand? That's pennies. They made $50 million last year. What is 15,000 to them? I honestly think that them keeping these players around causes way more harm than it could ever benefit them in the $15,000 that they keep. I would say probably 90% of the dual arena are just buying accounts from hackers. Gold farmers, getting Venezuelans to train them, putting them on proxies, VPNs. They just stand there, seemingly untouchable, spamming away 12 hours a day. But people are also standing around on purchased, hacked, maxed accounts, advertising their duels all day long with no ramifications whatsoever. There are specific accounts that are there at the dual arena right now that have sold hundreds of billions, and no matter how much you tell on them, like if you tell a DM mod, like if you DM a mod, like if you DM a mod, they say, why don't you send it to this address? And it never gets dealt with. I don't know if they're doing things that don't flag their automated systems, so they're getting off scot-free, but if I was a mod, and I took just 1 hour a week to run through the dual arena, I would have stopped the RWT problem already. So I think that's why a lot of people laugh about it. I know that you do some PvP as well. Ragging's against the rules, but you can rag all day long. Like, what's the stance on that? Some people get banned for sharing accounts, but some people don't. So what's the stance on that? I used to do batches of AV years ago. They did crack down on NMZ, which was really wise of them because it's the fastest, most efficient AFK way to create an account. As far as the depth of RWT on RuneScape as a whole, I bet that the monthly trade volume of RuneScape Gold is larger than the payroll of every Jagex mod combined. It's absurd how much money gets through the RWT funnel on RuneScape. Obviously, you have players that are odd stakers that sell a lot of gold. Then you have the people who are well off in their real life that will purchase 20 bill and pull up to the max spot, and they'll stand there and bid 20 bill. They'll maybe buy their 20 bill for 10K, they win another 20 bill stake. They'll sell it for 10% lower price than they paid for it, and that money goes to the gold sites, the merchants. I think Jagex worked on shutting down Bogla, and by a legal loophole, they're open again under some new alias. There are a lot of stakers that high risk with PK scripts, like the best you could imagine. I guess when you have money to pay for the most optimal setup, you spend the money and you're off to a good start. I knew people in the Deadman mode tournaments with teams of auto hotkey cheats, all the same type of things. Literally, bots that grab control of your mouse, they can sense whatever ID item is in your hand. They automatically switch your setups and your prayers to literally fight back with the most optimal setup. I'm not a PKer, so I'm not familiar with what setups they would use, but I know for a fact that they do overlap as well. And maybe that's where the toxicity comes from, if they're kind of the same people. I think a bit of the toxicity comes from these people say these horrible things and there's no ramifications for it. For example, I've never seen someone get muted, ever. I could log in right now, I could tell someone to kill themselves. Whatever you can think is the most horrible phrase, if someone said that and you reported them, they wouldn't get muted. It's a fact. And to be honest, you shouldn't be getting muted at that point. You should be removed from the game. Because some of the people who are playing these games are using it as an escape from their real lives. And I know that's not for everybody, but there are people on these games that use RuneScape as an escape from their real life. And if you say that stuff to the wrong person, they might actually kill themselves. To see an RWTer talk like that to a real player who's using it as an escape, and the RWTer has no ramifications for that, it's just laughable. Some of the stuff people say, you could get into legal trouble for. You might not get muted or banned, but If I take a screenshot and brought it to my local police department and said I'm going to press charges and the legal department contacted Jagex, they would be able to take legal action on some of the stuff that's said to these players. But no one's getting muted. No one's getting banned for what they're saying. I think that's why the toxicity is still here, because it's not against the rules, as far as I can tell. If you watch Ian's stream, you'll notice that he gets ragged all the time, flamed all the time, then they're back to do it again, and again, and again. It just doesn't stop. If you want a community to be clean and friendly and to keep growing, I think you really need to police it and make it a safe place for people who want to play for fun. I'm not sure how much it would have contributed to players quitting the game. I think a lot of real players end up buying bulk because if I make $30 an hour at my office job and I just got gleamed for my twisted bow, and a twisted bow is 1,100 million, that's around $700. That takes me about 24 hours of work at $30 an hour to get my twisted bow back. For a player to get a twisted bow by just chopping logs, how many thousands of hours would that take? I think a lot of people might have quit the game if they weren't willing to buy gold, but unfortunately, a lot of players buy gold. That's how dual arena odds stakers have someone to stake in the first place. The dual arena RWTers couldn't make viable money if real players weren't willing to buy gold. Happy kitty.